All right, so breaking down the Russell, absolutely broke that zone. Tomorrow, if we get a retest of that, that would be my short entry. As far as everything goes, right now we are working until this turns around, lower lows and lower highs. So until that train turns, I will be short. As far as the dollar, if that does reject, that could support some green candles in the markets. But that's kind of what we're watching right now. As far as the expected move, still plenty of room to the downside. Not to mention if we were to break that and get a rein it back in play, still could be plenty of red. Looking back, this got brought up earlier. Now it's March lows on the other ones. This is actually we're kind of back to not quite the same. Pretty, yeah. Well, I guess we broke. I say pretty decent level, but I guess we have that zoned out. All right, as far as tech goes, this is ultimately we talked about this the other day. Now, Tech hadn't broken this yet. Actually, it was Spy and the Russell, but Tech finally jumped on board, breaking this range to the downside, and that's just my signal for further moves. You guys have watched me draw out many times these ranges, and just once it breaks, that's where your alert's at, and then it's just in send it mode. Right now, looking for an oversold bounce. You guys know I'm in Spy calls, which I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but the price action is the same across the board. Um, if we gap up tomorrow, it could be if we kind of gap up to here, it might be a gap and go kind of day. But tomorrow, I would just say is hopefully a relief rally, considering the last 2 days have just been massively down. Um, but right now, I think the risk favors the short side still. If you're buying any options contracts, we already had that conversation before we hit record. It was contracts are up. You got to pay to play in this. And just really quick, the VIX is up. The VVIX is also up, which is the volatility of the volatility index. So this is telling me the VIX is going to move a little bit spicier, and then the VIX is going to move those candles on the charts a little bit more. Mind your P's and Q's, right? Pay attention. Don't be out here just shooting from the hip because this is when you get humbled really quick. It's not so much these days back here where SPY moves 50 cents and if it went against you, so what? You maybe lost a little bit of money on some 0 days. But jacking around when the volatility is this high will be the time you get absolutely bent. So let's be careful with that. So this one broke down yesterday. That was your cue. We had a little bit of a bounce here. Awkwardly enough, guys, I was so close. In the morning chat, if you caught it, I said, "Are we going to 517 or is it just going to be 516?" Playing around. This ended up being like 515.30 on Spy. Annoying. But even that was nothing, and we broke that zone. So ultimately held that just all the way to the downside. Hopefully there's a relief rally. What would concern me and I'm hoping we have a bright green day tomorrow. For the amount we saw today, bright green day tomorrow. You can talk about inflation went away. You can talk about world peace, whatever the excuse is, whatever gets you to sleep at night. If it has a bright green day, we only make it to here. That's still going to be, as far as my concern, just your short entry. So if we get those green candles, I'm just going to let the green candles do their thing. I'm in SPY calls. I'm going to have to manage them tomorrow. Break even would be cool. Profit would be nice. But I'll even take the L tomorrow because I'm just going to look for the short entry. I don't want to talk about capitulation, but and like we talked about the past few streams, we've been on top of this for a while now because we talked back here that these red candles looked suspicious. Then this one came. Then this one came. There's been plenty of heads up about time to be bearish. Time. This could be the top. So congrats to everybody that's short this. But until this ship turns around, I don't know how deep this thing could go. We've talked about 5%. We've talked about 9%. This puts you at the 9% mark all the way down here. 5% we're pretty much close to. It's going to be this zone right here. And we did have this little volatility box right inside here where we played the back and forth game for a bit. We'll see if we just waltz right through that or not. But that being said, I hope we get the absolute meltdown. Capitulation, send it. Back to what I was just saying. There's been all well, up here, we've talked about red candles because characteristically they're different. I've told you guys over and over again. It looks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, not specifically them, but to paint that picture, somebody is selling. Somebody's just market selling these things. They're getting out. And then it's finally just breaking down even more. whatever the excuse is, doesn't matter. I would say stick to the price action, because tomorrow, if there's going to be a green day, it's likely going to be a world peace event or some inflation data. Some Fed person's going to say we're going to do rate cuts, and you're going to see it go green. And then the next day, people are going to freak out. We're going to be right back on board. So don't let them. I wouldn't let that news rope you into anything. But this question gets asked a lot. I wish Lisa was here because she's usually the one. Is it time to buy leaps yet? And I'm going to say, let this red candle do its thing, because then we will. This is the pullback I've been talking about and been waiting for, as many times as people have asked. Hey, when are we buying calls? When are we buying leaps? And it's intraday stuff. But outside of that, this is going to be the dip buy coming up. So we don't need to be the first one in. There's a YouTube comment the other day from Mary. She said, "You don't want to be the first penguin in the water." I assume because there's a shark there. Never used that line or even heard it, but don't be the first penguin in the water.